Now, Sun from Lost may initially come across as a mild-mannered, sympathetic survivor, a soft-spoken wife tending a garden and offering quiet support. But don't let the warm smile and happy demeanor fool you. Beneath the facade lies a pattern of deceit, selfish choices, and questionable morality that spans the entire series. Today we're going to talk about Sun's journey, highlighting the key moments through various episodes that demonstrate how, well, Sun kinda sucks. She kinda does. Now we begin to understand who Sun is early in season 1. The episode House of Rising Sun gives us flashbacks into her life in Korea with Jin, showing us the life of a rich heiress and her loyal fiancé. On the surface, it looks extremely romantic. Sun goes against her strict father to be with Jin, a poor fisherman's son who becomes a restaurant waiter. But even in this love story, warning signs are showing. Sun's family is rich and powerful, and she knows her father can be a very dangerous man. Now, instead of being honest with Jin about her father's criminal ties, Sun hides the truth and dreams about running away. In fact, she's so fed up with her father's control that she secretly begins planning to leave Jin completely. Yes, even before they get on Oceanic 815, Sun was taking private English lessons from a good-looking tutor and planning to disappear at the airport. While Jin is working hard to earn her love, even begging her father for a job so he can marry her in these flashbacks, Sun is planning how to leave the poor soul. And it's a very clear sign. When things get hard, her first instinct isn't to talk things through, but to lie and look out for herself. Now, while she's on the island in this episode, Sun initially maintains her very demure facade, pretending she does not speak English to everyone, including her own husband. Now he may be thinking, "Aw, that's cute." But in my opinion, this was Sun hedging her bets, keeping an advantage in case she needs it. When Jin violently attacks Michael over a misunderstanding about a watch, Sun finally reveals her English ability to stop Jin from killing someone.
I need to talk to you.
You speak English?
Yes.
That's so noble of her, right? I mean, perhaps. But consider the fact that she let it get to that point before she said anything. In fact, there were so many chances when Sun could have prevented a lot of confusion by just telling everybody that she spoke English. But protecting her secret was more important to her, until it wasn't. Now, this is an early instance of Sun having information and choosing not to share it for selfish reasons. Only when her husband is nearly beaten to death does she speak up, conveniently casting herself as the savior of the moment. Oh, how considerate of you.
Leave him alone!
Remember that at this point, Jin cannot understand a word of what is going on around him. He's isolated, alone, and the only person he has is his wife. So Sun keeping Jin in isolation is just pure selfishness. And it tells us that Sun is more comfortable deceiving everyone again than dealing with the fallout of the truth. Now let's talk about the season 1 finale, the airport escape plan. During this episode, we get to see another flashback of her planning to leave Jin at the airport. Sun had meticulously arranged a secret getaway to abandon Jin, a car waiting outside, a new identity, the whole 9 yards. And the plan was to disappear at the airport, leaving Jin bewildered and heartbroken, and also potentially in lethal danger from her vengeful father. Remember, Sun's father never approved of Jin unless he was under his thumb. So if Sun had vanished, Jin would undoubtedly take the blame. Sun was effectively ready to fake her own disappearance and let her husband take the fall with a ruthless crime boss. Sun's willingness to run away whenever things get hard is a running theme. Even after surviving a plane crash together, she continues to keep secrets from Jin. The airport incident is a huge warning sign about Sun's mindset. Self-preservation first, honesty later, if ever. And unfortunately for Jin and others, this was just the beginning of Sun's pattern of duplicitous behavior. Now, after the crash, Sun initially stays in the background, tending her little herb garden and seeming like a gentle soul. But true to form, she continues to operate with her own agenda. Throughout the late season 1, Sun juggles multiple lies. She keeps her knowledge of English a secret for as long as possible and pretends to be a helpless, non-comprehending bystander while the other survivors scramble around trying to figure out what is going on. Now, only Michael knows about her secret early on, but what does Sun do after outing herself to Michael, a guy that her husband doesn't even like? She begs him to keep quiet, and she doesn't tell Jin that she understands everything. Right? Now, by the end of season 1, Sun's manipulative streak jumps to another level. When Jin decides that he wants to join the raft to try and escape the island, Sun is not happy. Apparently, she doesn't want to see her husband sail off, perhaps afraid for his safety, or maybe just afraid to be without him. So what does Sun do in the process? She resorts to poisoning her own husband. In the episode Born to Run, season 1, episode 22, Michael suddenly falls ill, and this is after drinking the water that Sun spiked with the jungle herbs. Now, what was Sun's genius plan? To make Jin look too sick to depart, thus keeping him stuck with her. Unfortunately, or hilariously, Michael drinks the tainted water by accident, so essentially Sun took out the wrong guy. Right? Now, when this scheme comes to light, everyone assumes Kate was behind it. It was Kate's idea. She lets Kate take the blame until circumstances force her to confess.
I didn't want him to die out there.
His wife, the only person he trusts, tried to sabotage his escape plan by drugging him. That's a massive breach of trust. Sun claims she did it out of love and fear of losing him, a classic toxic excuse. Now, if I was one of Jen's friends, I'd be like, yo buddy, yo woman, she tried to poison you, bro. Like, aren't you seeing all these red flags? And Jen would probably go, yes, but I love her. But this speaks about Sun's true nature. Whether it's concealing abilities or spiking someone's drink, Sun's instinct is to manipulate events to her liking. And because she's so soft-spoken, and because she's so cute, a lot of the other survivors just let it slide. Big mistake. Now let's move on to season 2, episode 16. Now moving on to this season, one might hope Sun would turn over a new leaf. I mean, she did plant enough of them in her garden, but nope. Her pattern of half-truths continues. Now, the name of the episode is called The Whole Truth, an episode ironically titled for a story where Sun absolutely does not tell the whole truth. On the island, Sun discovers that she's pregnant, a surprise that should be joyous. Everybody should be celebrating. However, this news is covered with tension because we know Sun's secret. Before the crash, doctors told Sun that she could not conceive, which was a polite way of saying that Jin was infertile. In other words, Jin getting Sun pregnant was supposedly impossible, unless another man was involved. Now, does Sun come clean about this little detail to her husband? Nope. She initially keeps Jin in the dark, and she lets him blissfully believe that the island performed a miracle on his reproductive system.
사실은요, 선 씨에게 문제가 있는 게 아니고요.
네?
At this point, Jin is overjoyed at the prospect of being a father, completely unaware of what Sun did behind his back. And Sun, she just sits there with a smile on her face once again, knowing that she's deceiving her husband again. Now, to be fair, at this point, don't really know if Sun cheated for sure. That bomb drops in season 3, but Sun sure knows it. You can see the guilt all over her face as Jin excitedly talks about their family future. She also has multiple chances to tell Jin about her affair, but what does she do? She avoids the topic completely. In classic Sun fashion, she lies to Jin once again because it spares her the immediate consequences. And in Sun's world, this is the whole truth, Sun style. Tell half a truth and hope the rest never comes out. Now, there are moments on the show when Sun looks like she might confess, but before that happens, she pivots or gets interrupted, and it's extremely frustrating to watch because Jin is honestly trying so hard. He has become a much kinder husband on the island, and he doesn't deserve this ongoing deception. So by the end of season 2, Sun keeps many secrets intact, and her marriage to Jin seems stronger on the surface. Now, if there is a single episode that solidifies the fact that Sun sucks, it's The Glass Ballerina, season 3, episode 2. And wow. Now, the episode's very first flashback drops us into Sun's childhood, where a young Sun breaks a glass ballerina figure and promptly lies about it, blaming the household maid. Innocent mistake from a kid, right? Except her lie gets the poor maid fired on the spot. Little Sun then sheds a tear, but notably does not come clean.
이 발레리나 네가 깨친 거니?
Now this sets the tone. Even as a child, Sun would rather someone else suffer consequences than admit that she has done something wrong. So from the get-go, we learn that Sun is spoiled and dishonest. And this episode foreshadows the world-class liar she becomes as an adult. Fast forward to an adult Sun, in this same episode's flashbacks, we finally see the truth of her pre-island life. And oh boy, it's ugly. She was having an affair with Jay Lee, the very man who taught her English during those secret lessons. Yep, that bald tutor guy was not just teaching vocabulary, he was comforting Sun in ways Jin would definitely disapprove of. While Jin is out there risking his life for her, trying to win her love and affection over, Sun is having an affair with the bald tutor. And the thing is, thanks to Sun's own actions, Jin had been dragged deeper into working for her father. Now here's the thing, in a flashback from another episode, Sun went to her father to borrow a hefty sum of money, 100 grand, to pay off a blackmailer, right? We'll talk about this in a minute. Sun's father agreed, but it came at a price. To pay off all of this money, Jin had to work for him. So with this one interaction, Sun sets in motion Jin's transformation into a hitman, and then she has the gall to resent him for working long hours and changing under the stress.
이놈한테 내 것을 도둑맞았어. 자네가 이 문제를 해결해 주길 바라네.
So in the episode The Glass Ballerina, we see Jin, at Sun's father's commands, confront Sun's lover, not knowing that this is the man that Sun is cheating with. So Jin goes up to confront Jay, he roughs him up, but spares his life, only for Jay to later commit suicide by jumping from a building in shame. And the thing is, all of this mess can be 100% traceable to Sun's choices. Her cheating led to Jay's death and drove an even deeper wedge between her and Jin. So what does Sun do? What does Sun, the loving wife, do? She decides she's had enough of her now cold, traumatized husband and plans to run away at the airport. And as I was watching this episode, I was like, wow, Sun ruined Jin's life in multiple ways. Emotionally, morally, and even professionally. And then on top of that, she now acts like she's the victim in all of this. I mean, come on. At this point, Sun truly behaves as if she's the one who got wronged, sneaking around with her lover the whole time while Jin comes home late, covered in someone else's blood from doing her father's dirty work. It's the peak of selfishness. Peak selfishness. So by the end of the episode of The Glass Ballerina, any illusion that Sun is somehow innocent, is somehow angelic and all of that is smashed. Just like the ornament she broke as a kid. On the island in this episode, Sun also gets her hands dirty. She shoots and kills an other, Colleen, and for some reason I can't say that name properly, who had cornered her on the boat that she sailed. Sure, it was self-defense during a skirmish, but it's darkly fitting that in this episode, Sun is showed as a cheater in the past and a killer in the present. Now at this point, the facade is truly shattered. Sun is no saint, and this episode makes that loud and clear. Now Sun's misdeeds did not stop at infidelity and lies. She also has a knack for putting her lover in impossible situations. Then she shrugs off all responsibility. In Season 3, Episode 18, an episode called DOC, or Date of Conception, we learn about one such incident from her past that had far-reaching consequences. Now remember the money she borrowed from her father? Well, here's the backstory. Not long before the flight, Sun was approached by a mysterious woman who turned out to be Jin's estranged mother. Jin's mother was a former prostitute and was blackmailing Sun, threatening to expose Jin's shameful parentage unless Sun paid up. And rather than confiding in Jin, who might have simply been relieved to know that his mom was alive, or at least come up with a plan together, Sun takes it all on herself. She runs back to her dad for help, and the dad, being a lovable mobster that he is, agrees to give her the money, but he then tells Sun that, look, Jin will now owe me big time. So essentially, Sun sells out Jin to protect her own pride and to keep Jin from learning this unpleasant truth about his birth. She then hands over the cash to Jin's mother with an icy threat to boot: stay away from us or else, showing that she's perfectly capable of ruthlessness when it suits her. Now, did this solve the problem? Not quite. Jin has to pay this debt back in a very horrific way, and that's by doing her father's dirty work, delivering brutal messages, collecting debts, and yes, likely murdering people. And the thing is, Sun knew her father. She very well knew what he was capable of, but despite this, she still let Jin take on the burden. So on the island in the episode DOC, Sun finally faces the results of her lies. At this point, she's very sick with worry about her pregnancy because pregnant women have been dying on the island. Juliet then helps to determine when the baby was conceived off or on the island to gauge if Sun will survive. Now, when Juliet tells Sun that the baby was conceived on the island, Sun is relieved because this means that Jin is definitely the father, and it also means she won't succumb to the island pregnancy curse. In other words, Sun got incredibly lucky. Her affair with Jay did not result in a child, but instead of going, I'm gonna tell my husband about my affair, Sun clings to her lies. When Juliet asks if Jin knows about her infidelity, Sun coldly responds that of course he doesn't, and basically he never will if she can help it. In one painful scene, Jin sweetly remarks about the baby, and Sun assures him that she's never been with any other man. She looks him right in the eyes and tells that bold-faced lie again. This is after everything. Sun still refuses to take accountability. It's wild, man, it's wild. So the episode DOC thus shows us both the cause and effect of Sun's treachery. Her choice to indebt Jin turned him into a hardened man, and that's the very change in him that she hated, and her choice to keep lying ensures that even on the island, Jin is still being lied to. Now by season 4, Sun's house of cards finally comes tumbling down in a very dramatic fashion. On the island, the excellent and now fed up Juliet takes a gambit to ensure Sun's survival. She reveals Sun's affair to Jin, and the thing is, at this point Jin was living a good life. He was working on the beach camp, doing what he was supposed to do, only to have Juliet bluntly tell him Sun had an affair, and when that happens, Jin's face falls, and you can practically see his heart break. And that was some good acting.
Your wife had an affair.
So Sun's elaborate tapestry of lies is at last exposed to the one person she tried the hardest to deceive, the person that loves her the most. And how does Sun handle this? Poorly. Very poorly. In a fit of indignation, she slaps Juliet across the face for telling Jin the truth. The audacity. And the thing is, Juliet was trying to save Sun's life, convincing Jin not to whisk Sun away to Locke's camp, which would have cut her off from the medical help she needs. Sun reacts as if she's been grievously wronged, as if Juliet's honesty is the problem rather than her own lies and behavior. In a very stunning display of entitlement, Sun literally assaults the person who finally made her confront her truth. And in that moment, you can't help but shake your head. Instead of groveling an apology to Jin, she instead lashes out at the messenger because she was planning to take this secret to death. Sun. So then Jin understandably storms off to grapple with this revelation, but when he cools down, after a fishing trip pep talk from Bernard of all people, Jin displays emotional maturity that frankly Sun had not earned.
We must be the good guys, huh?
He then forgives her. He returns to Sun, acknowledging that the man he used to be, the distant, violent enforcer Sun cheated on, is gone, and that he wants to start afresh. Sun then weeps, apologizes of course, promising to never lie again for what that's worth. But at the end of the day, Jin and Sun reconcile, and they promise to do right by each other. And this leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I don't know about you guys, because at this point, Jin is taking all the blame. He's basically saying, look, I drove you into another man's arms by being such a jerk. It was my fault. And Sun escapes a major fallout once again. Now sure, she had the scare of losing Jin, but in the end she still gets her way with her actions without lasting consequences. Jin then doesn't leave her. or hate her, he then doubles down on loving her. The show even has them continue to be a power couple afterwards, almost as if Juliet was the one who was the real villain for making them fight. Now from my perspective, this is exasperating. Sun's infidelity and lies basically get swept under the rug, and she won. She won. And this solidifies the feeling that Sun's character never truly faced justice for how terribly she treated her husband. She was terrible.
나도 당신이랑 결혼해서 치른 대가가 있는 거 몰라요?
Meanwhile, the flash forward in the episode Ji-yeon shows Sun giving birth to her daughter, whom she named Ji-yeon, as Jin once requested. It's a bittersweet scene because Jin isn't there. Sun believes he died when the freighter exploded. In the hospital bed, Sun sobs for her lost husband, and on the first watch you might feel pity. But then you remember, she's crying over the same man she lied to and betrayed repeatedly. It's hard not to see a bit of cosmic karma in this. The show then frames Sun as a grieving widow, a sympathetic figure, but knowing the full story one might go, really? Really? Sun's tears, while real, come at the end of a long line of cause and effect that she had a heavy hand in creating. Ji-yeon is both the climax of Sun's deception and, interestingly, the last time her faults are directly addressed by the narrative. From here on, Sun's story shifts into a different gear, one that somehow tries to paint her as strong and empowered. But fear not, we're not letting her off the hook that easily. Now let's go into season 4, episode 12 to 13. Sun makes it off the island as one of the Oceanic Six, but freedom and fame don't exactly soften her heart. If anything, she leans even harder into some morally gray territory. In There's No Place Like Home, the season 4 finale, we see Sun in a flash forward, taking some bold and ruthless steps. With Jin gone, Sun's got a score to settle and a future to secure, and the first order of business is Daddy Dearest. When she meets up with her father, she tells him, look, I bought a controlling interest in your company, and now I have a say in the day-to-day operations of things. She then icily blames her father for Jin's death, and she says, 2 people are responsible for what happened to Jin. You are one of them. Her father is then left literally speechless as Sun walks out, baby in tow, having outmaneuvered her father. Now on the surface, a viewer might go, go Sun, stick it to the man. But let's examine this with a satirical eye, right? Sun is basically trying to take over her own father's company. The same father who, despite his own criminal ways, has always provided for her. I mean, he gave her the 100K, and at the same time, he always wanted her to take over the company with her husband. Now, one could argue that Sun's father had it coming. He's a scary guy, he's a mobster, but Sun's demeanor here is almost chillingly detached. It's almost payback time for Sun, and Sun doesn't mind becoming as merciless as the man she blames.
제 남편 인생도 망가뜨리고 그런 아버지 때문에 우리가 그 비행기를 탄 거라고요.
Now we also learn that Sun has been in contact with Charles Whitmore, another charming individual. After leaving the island, she approaches Charles in London, introducing herself as one of the Oceanic Six and pointedly saying that they have common interests. Translation, she wants revenge on the other person she blames for Jin's death, which happens to be Ben Linus, the man Whitmore is also seeking to destroy. Now think about that. Sun is basically aligning herself with a shady billionaire known for sending a freighter of armed mercenaries to the island, all because she wants to get even. Now is she mourning like a normal widow or focusing on her child? Nope. Sun is plotting murder schemes in boardrooms and forming alliances with dangerous men. That's quite the pivot from her earlier persona. Now by the end of season 4, Sun is transformed into a businesswoman with a killer instinct. Perhaps literally. She'll smile to your face as she does with her father, while metaphorically sticking the knife in. Now granted, as the viewer we know that Jin is not actually dead, but Sun doesn't know that. In her mind, Jin died because decisions like following the feckless Jack and boarding the helicopter went awry. Now did Sun ever reflect on her own role in the chain of events? It's hard to say. Probably not. But there's no hint of self-awareness in these scenes. So by the end of season 4, Sun has set the stage to become a wild-caught antagonist, ready to double-cross or even kill others to achieve her ends. Right? And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, wow, Sun went full Lady Macbeth on us. I guess lying and cheating were her gateway drugs, because now she's into corporate backstabbing and assassination plots. Like, what happened to you, Sun? What happened? Now let's go into season 5, right? Now season 5 finds Sun back in Korea, ostensibly to care for her infant daughter Ji-yoon. Except surprise, Sun promptly packs up her bags and leaves the toddler with her grandma. And her priority is not motherhood, it's flying to Los Angeles to pursue leads on Jin's whereabouts once she hears that he might be alive, and possibly to fulfill her vow of vengeance. Now this is where Sun's single-minded obsession really shines, and not in a flattering way. I mean, Sun's baby is barely a toddler, having already lost one parent as far as Sun knows, and now Sun is jetting off, gun in hand, ready to potentially orphan the poor kid entirely if something goes wrong.
엄마 보고 싶어. 언제 와?
Now, we can argue that Sun's determination to find Jin is romantic, but at the same time, she's acting as if she's the only one that matters. It's all about her pain, her need for closure or revenge, while grandma raises her kid. And that's some choice prioritization right there. Now, during the season 5 events off island, Sun nearly makes good on her dangerous intentions. In season 5, episode 5, she corners Ben Linus at a marina with every intention to shoot him in the head. Now, Ben is hardly an innocent man, but from Sun's perspective, she's about to commit cold-blooded murder in front of witnesses, which would have definitely landed her in prison and left her child with 0 parents. But when Ben shows Sun Jin's wedding ring and tells her that Jin is alive, that's when she's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. And this scene is a tense moment that highlights how far gone Sun is. She literally almost killed a man in public because vengeance blinded her to any other consideration, including her child's future. At the same time, Sun's cynicism towards her former friends is on full display. She's very frosty to Kate and Jack, showing little camaraderie or trust left. Right? Who is this woman? It's darkly funny in a way. All those years she hated her father for being cold, ruthless, a businessman. But now, she's walking around like she's a mafia boss with a Chanel purse. And the very same traits she despised about her dad are now pouring out of her like it's second nature. So Sun's story in season 5 is not about survival, it's about obsession. And every single decision she makes is about Jin. And if someone gets hurt along the way, well, that's just the cost of it all. And while she does eventually reunite with Jin, thanks to time-traveling shenanigans, you can't ignore how much collateral damage Sun is willing to risk along the way. Whereas everyone and everything else, even her own daughter, be damned. Now let's talk about season 6 episode 14, The Candidate. Now at long last in season 6, Sun and Jin reunite on the island, and you think this would be one giant redemption, the emotional payoff for all of Sun's questionable choices. And yes, their reunion on this episode is very heartwarming. The two star-crossed lovers reunite, they find each other after 3 years apart, the embrace as the music swells. How romantic. But in true Lost fashion, tragedy strikes almost immediately. Mere hours after finding each other, Sun and Jin become trapped in a sinking submarine, and in a final act of devotion, they choose to drown together. Right? Now it's undeniably a very sad scene, but if we're being honest, it's a little infuriating too. I mean, Sun has spent multiple seasons fixating on reuniting with Jin at all costs, and when she finally does, neither of them even thinks about their daughter waiting back home. They have a kid back home. Jin essentially says, "I won't leave you," and that's that. They hold hands and accept death. How romantic. So, looking back on Sun's chronological journey, it's clear that her reputation as a very sweet, innocent survivor is unearned. From the very moment we meet her, she's hiding things and acting in her own interest. Even if it hurts the people around her the most, she lied freely about big things and small ones, manipulated events from the shadows, and to top it off, she consistently avoided accountability. Sun corrupted Jin's life with her father's influence and then condemned him for the monster he became. She cheated on him, planned to abandon him, and only remained when it suited her feelings. On the island, she hardly did anything except taking care of a few plants, and her stories were almost always about her problems and often the problems she caused. When she felt scared or lonely, she did not hesitate to endanger others, poisoning Michael by accident in a ploy to control Jin. And let's not forget about all the lies she told. Off the island, she was given every single chance to start afresh. However, She doubled down on the vengeance plot and became even more ruthless as time passed. Now, in a show filled with morally complex characters, Sun manages to rank among the most quietly treacherous. And the wild part is the show often framed her as a victim or a heroine overcoming adversity. But as we've explained here, many of Sun's adversities were of her own making. It's almost impressive how much she gets away with. In the end, one might say that Sun is the ultimate cautionary tale on Lost, a reminder that being soft-spoken and beautiful does not make you good, and sometimes a real villain is lurking in the guise of a friend. So the next time someone tries to tell you that Sun was strong, likable, blah blah blah, please share this video with them and also let them know that Sun sucks. That's it for the video. I'm gonna make more of these, so please subscribe, comment, do whatever you need to do, and I'll see you in the next one.